Okay. January 7th, 2026, City Council of Gerhart is called to order. Is there any declaration of interest? Of conflict of interest, excuse me?
No.
No. Okay. All right, moving on to the minutes. We've got the work session for City Council on Monday, November 24th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay. There's a motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on, we're going to go to the regular meeting of the City Council, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Yes, page 8. Towards the top, where it's the first document administrator suite went over, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks to me like 4 and 5 were the almost exact same wording, and they didn't know if that was intentional or if it was typo or what happened.
Oh, there's 2 4s.
One. There are
Yeah.
2 parts.
So one of them needs to be deleted. Thank you.
All right, with corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I believe it all went. All right, planning commission report, everyone's got it, 10 pager in their packet. Are there any questions for Chad? I guess we have one in the audience, huh? All right, no? All right, moving on, mayor's report, nothing but meetings for the last month. It'll continue for the next month. Councilor reports, Preston?
I have nothing.
Dana?
Yeah, just a couple of things real quick. The League of Oregon Cities Small City Meeting is February 6th. They're actually they have it listed online 2 different times, both of them in Seaside at the library. One's from 11 to 1 and one starts at 5:30. I think it's because it coincides with the president's message. So I will be attending one or the other of those. The Small Business Development Center is advertising the opening of its small business management course through Classic Community College. They're offering some scholarships. Anybody interested should contact Classic Community College for more information on that. And then Thursday night, there's an after hours chamber event being hosted in Gerhart by Coastal Restoration.
Okay, thank you. Alina?
I spent a month recovering from my hip surgery. I do want to offer up a document that I found in my records, the original document. I've given it to Justine. This is the goals for the city of Gerhart from April of 1992. It was a draft. I guess I was made the secretary of this committee, which was a committee of citizens. It goes through the LCDC goals and has the opinion at the time of what the city of Gerhart should look to be doing. And it was a lot of this that the 1994 updates to the comprehensive plan were based on. I believe it's still relevant in many ways, and you can also read through it and see that many of the goals have been actually fulfilled. But there are others that are still a work in progress. And that's what I have.
Thank you. Sharon?
Yeah, I met with Spencer Kyle, the city manager for Seaside, to ask about status of whether Seaside would be at all interested in merging their fire department with ours. I came away from that meeting with two salient points. First one being that at this point in time, there's not any impetus on their part to do that. And the second one being that there would be a lot of conditions that we would have to meet before they would even remotely consider doing something like that. And the biggest condition would be that we had a new fire facility. So,
All right, moving on to officers. Chief Gregory.
Good evening, council. So first off, thank you again so much for allowing me to use some of the vehicle budget to get the laptops. We got them ordered, took a minute to get them in, but we actually today had them fully functional. So they are a huge improvement and working very well. So thank you for that. As far as stats go, since we switched to this new system, Central Square, we're now, in the past, I would say, hey, we had this amount of case files, we had this amount of action items. Now everything's just a call for service. And as you see on the report there, in the month of December, we ended with 135 calls for service. It was an interesting month. We were pretty busy. I don't know why, and I'm sure everyone noticed this, but a lot of people in town and in the county this holiday, more than we typically see. So they kept us busy, and we had some oddball cases as well that we don't get every month to report on. So it was an interesting month. Looking back at 2025 and keeping the calls for service idea in mind, we finished roughly, I'll get a better number probably for next council meeting once I can kind of dig in a little deeper, but it was over 1,700 calls for service last month with the RPD. Keep in mind that's with 3 officers, so we had a lot going on. Officer Merez, he got to attend the Shop with a Cop event with the local South County agencies. If you're unfamiliar with that, police officers go. I wanted to attend. I had to flood my house. I couldn't go this year, but we go and have breakfast with some kids at Pig and Pancake, feed them up on sugar. You can imagine chocolate chip pancakes is the #1 ordered item. And then we drive them up to Fred Meyer, and the Fred Meyer works with us, and they get gift cards, and they go and they pick presents for their family members. And then we watch and talk with them, and oh, I sure do like that, but I like that. And then we end up getting them something for Christmas as well. So Officer Merez had a great time doing that, and I'm very thankful we were able to attend. And finally, Sergeant Brown and I will be going to the Executive Leadership's training seminar. It's an annual event in Seaside every year. We'll be attending that this month through the OACP. That's what I got.
couple questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, under the animal category, is that just animal at large?
It's
or-
any animal related call that we have. So that would most likely, they're typically animal dogs at large. Let's say if a deer got hit by a car or was road struck, it would fall under that as well.
Okay. And second question is, under the traffic stop category,
Mhm.
can that be broken down into what you had before, citations versus?
I think it could be, and I can look into that. Lisa Minor with the sheriff's office, she's been integral in this whole process of getting Central Square working. She helped me develop that. I will speak with her and see if I can't get that added to our filter of what is produced.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I want to publicly commend you. And I don't normally comment on things that you guys are involved in, but it was on a social media site, so I have a little bit of knowledge and it's out there in the public sphere anyway, but I'm aware that you were involved in a failure to appear or a pursuit. And I just want to commend you for your good judgment, because you don't sign up to be a law enforcement officer and then want the bad guys to get away. But there are times when it makes more sense to let them get away. And that's one of the toughest decisions for officers to make. It shows good judgment, good maturity, not to put the public in danger when you have the guy identified And when you recognize that it could potentially become more of a public problem if you continue to pursue them. So I want to commend you for your good judgment.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Fire Chief Como.
Thank you, sir. So I don't have the monthly log breakdown for you this month. Federally, they forced us on January 1st to start a whole new reporting system. And there is some great growing pain they are working out with that. So I was able to get the summary, which is what you guys have, but I don't have that breakdown monthly log yet. December had 64 calls total, 27 in the city and 33 in the district. And we sent out aid 4 different times. They're all for building fires for those agencies you see there. How that compared to 2024, December 24 had 83 calls, so about 20 calls less this December, which felt really nice, especially around the last couple of weeks of December. I think 24 when we had that big one from that ice storm, which is why we had so many calls in 24. We ended 2024 on call 759, and this year on call 879, so we're 120 incidents ahead of last year. With that, and as I've explained to you guys many times that countywide we operate, all the fire agencies countywide operates as one large agency with mutually and auto aid. Cannon Beach, now with them being full-time agencies, they're in a really good position to help out other people. And not talking bad at all about LC and Hamlet, but they don't have as many people out there. So Cannon Beach has covered about 90% of Hamlet and LC's calls, which adds about 100 of Cannon Beach's call volume. So with that, I just want to give you to compare. Cannon Beach had 786 incidents last year, including all those. So we were 93 incidents ahead of Cannon Beach. So if you take out the 100 extra they had, we're still up 200 bucks ahead of Cannon Beach Village.
And they have how many paid?
I think they're up to 18 full-time, counting admin staff and firefighters. They have Seaside, Cannon Beach, and Astoria, all 3 agencies in the county have full-time firefighters 24/7. And 4 or 5 admin staff. Fire chief, fire marshal, division chief training, division chief EMS, all the peoples. So we have a great group doing great things, fantastic over there. I can't speak highly enough about our volunteers with that. And with that, I will have my typical end of year report I give you guys as soon as I'm able to pull the data and get down and put it together.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any other questions? All right, master of money.
Okay, so noteworthy in revenues, were funds received in 10-0014, the city business license line item, which is due to our annual city business license renewal process. They expire December 31st, so we've had a lot of people bringing in, so we see quite a substantial increase in that revenue line item. And in 10-0065, the conflagration and mobilization line, we've had our final outstanding reimbursement payment that was from Hood to Coast Mobilization. We assisted with that, our fire department, and they do reimburse us for that. So we have no more conflag outstanding, which is great. Noteworthy in expenditures, there was a $13,000-ish payment to Barry, Ellesmere, and Hammond for legal services. And that was in 2 accounts, 1041 and 101741. And this payment represents services that had been rendered since July 1st. But that BEH's billing system had inadvertently put a hold on. And they're confident that that issue has been resolved, but that was a makeup for services that had already been provided. Each year, the city had regular software renewals, and this report, there were 2, which is Civic Plus, which is our website software, and Adobe, which all of our departments use, and it's just a software system that has a little bit more advanced document functions, and we all use it quite a bit. There was a $15,000 payment in 10/12/63 purchase services to the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office for the city's regular patrol assistant agreement. This payment represents services that were provided for the months of July through November. The Sheriff's Office had a staff member that was out on long-term leave, and they had just gotten a little bit behind on invoicing. So we're caught up again with that. There was the city's regular quarterly payment to the Gerhart Volunteer Fire Association in 10/13/60, gas and clothing maintenance, which was reimbursement to our volunteers for fuel and clothing expenses. There was a transfer from the general fund expenditure account 10/14/87 to the building department, which was their revenue account 480099 for $3,700. In the budgeting process, up to $10,000 was approved to transfer to help support the building department if they had any type of financial need, where the revenues were not matching the expenditures. This last month we did hit that, and we needed $3,700 to make sure that that account balanced. And although the building department has been remaining fairly steady, the workload isn't translating into permits. It's more a lot of questions, a lot of interesting lots, which doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is actually building something that is permittable. There was a payment to Cassell for new court software in 10/15/60. With the mandatory transition of the police department to the new countywide software, Gerhardt's municipal court was no longer able to access the old software, and the software was essential. So we had to look at alternatives for the municipal court. This was an unforeseen consequence that we did not realize until D-Day, when they were cutting off the one system and the new system was starting. And court wasn't something that had been included in that planning process. So we did go out and look, our court clerk had gone out and looked at some different softwares. They found one with a company of Cassell, which we have talked about moving to as a whole for all of our financial departments, but court is going to go ahead and start and transition over there. So we're excited for them, and it will greatly improve their efficiencies, but it wasn't something that we budgeted for, so it is an additional cost. There was the police computers that Chief Gregory had mentioned that we paid for in 7299. 9,000 of that came from there because you approved 9,000 from the reserve. It was a little bit over that, so we did charge some of it to the regular police technology budget. With the new tax year comes new payroll tax rates and limits. The workers' benefit fund assessment tax decreased from 2 cents to 1.8 cents per hour worked. The city's unemployment rate significantly decreased from 2.5% to 0.9%. So that's good news for us. There has been a temporary hold on the increase in the statewide transient tax. Councilor Gould had mentioned last month about an initiative by local, by Oregonians that maybe disagreed with some taxes that Governor Kotek had legislation put into effect. And the Secretary of State's office has received enough signatures for the ODOT funding legislation to put it on a ballot. So they have decided not to implement the increases for the statewide transit tax until that goes to the voters. PERS has released their new employer advisory rates for 2027 to 2029 fiscal years. And so it gives us a look at what those potential contribution rates will be. And ours are anticipated, the employer rates, to increase over 4%. So it's pretty significant. That's on all of our payroll. Could be worse, but 4% is what we're looking at. Acuity is here tonight, and they're going to give a brief discussion about our city's audit in the visitor section. Please don't hesitate if you have any questions for them or want to make any comments to them. I'm super thankful for them. They're super helpful, been very supportive. They help me even when it's not audit related. They have a lot of experience with QuickBooks and other things, like the big beautiful bill. And so they can help me make choices based on what other, they'll give me recommendations based on what other cities are doing. So super helpful, and I really appreciate them, and they'll be presenting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Justin. All right. Chad, oh, sorry. Chad Jacobs.
Chad number 2. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chad Jacobs, Interim City Attorney's Office. Really have nothing to report other than say wish everyone a happy new year, and it's continue to be a joy working with your staff. So look forward to working with you on the ordinance later this evening. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chad number 1.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor and Council, just a few things to update. I've been working with FFA Architecture on the public safety building project. They are aware of the council's choice to look at moving forward with the remodel project based on the survey results. They have put together a timeline that'll work for us to get to potentially the May ballot, if that's the direction that the city council chooses. And we're going to begin working on that on January 13th with them, although we've been providing them with information and we've been building their ideas for the remodel of that older building. There are a few things that we're discussing here within staff right now that is kind of got this whole project moving around a little bit, but I think all in all, it's going well, and I will be in touch with the city councilors on what we're going to need from you in participation to help with that. And I'll be doing that early next week. I held multiple bench participation phone calls and site visit meetings in regards to the Gearhart Bench project. We've got 2 of them on the way to be installed soon. Families have made their choices, and we have given them the agreement paperwork and are waiting to get that back. And then we will be ordering those benches and installing them. We're working with 5 families total right now. Well, 4 families really. One of them we're still having a hard time getting a hold of. Once we finish those 4 families, then we'll move on to the next group on the list. And so far, everybody's been pretty excited and open about participating in that. We've been continually working on reoccurring flooding and drainage concerns around Gearhart. We've definitely had a lot of rain. Knock on wood, nothing's been flooded other than some streets and some low areas around town. Although the project that's on Gearhart Loop is still very concerning to us, but Mark McFadden has been working with an engineering team and has a temporary fix in mind that is going to be looking at implementing soon. I'll let you know more as he learns more. So far, the temporary drainage that we have set up on Gearhart Loop Lane is working nicely. So we're monitoring that situation. We'll report more as we know. Multiple tree permits in process over the last couple of weeks and within the month. So there's tree work being done, no violations at this point from that tree work. So people are behaving pretty well and doing the permits. And I think right now I only have 1 on my desk that's yet to be given out. So we're in pretty decent shape there. You see the sidewalk on Pacific Way is beginning to get installed finally. I don't have a process update. I didn't get to Mark about that today, but I know that he's waiting for some decent weather again to finish that one off. Decent weather. He didn't say good weather, so I think that it might be done here fairly soon. Water Caucus will be participating with the state on the Water Caucus meetings that are being held in Salem. we'll have to, we're looking at registering for that and participating so that we can make sure that we are engaging with our representatives about our water needs here in Deer Harbor. City offices will be closed Martin Luther King Day, January 19th. For the counselors, work session, January 13th. Keep that on your calendar. The agenda is being worked on by the mayor and I, and get that out here fairly soon. And then probability of another work session, potentially fairly soon after that. But we'll keep you up on that and then go out for some dates to see what your availability is like. Still working with Mr. Lowenberg on the street vacation issue. We're waiting on some information from him before moving forward, so that vacation has not been finished at that point. So we're still working with them. And staff is working hard, especially the planning staff, on updating the zone code books with the PICM and FEMA standards that we changed in November. And last but not least, I've been out for a couple of weeks this last month due to a health issue, and I appreciate everybody reaching out, making sure I was all right. Here I am, I'm alive. I would like to throw out a shout out though to one person, and that's Mark McFadden. When I was going through this little health episode, he looked at me in a meeting that we had, said I didn't look right, and I said, yeah, I know, I'm making an appointment. And he says, no, you're getting in my truck. And they took me to the hospital, and that was fantastic. I
Need to create a life-saving award in Deer Park and give it to him.
You would deserve it for sure. Yeah, it saved my life. Otherwise, I would have just done the man thing and said, you know what, I'll take care of this later.
Oh, pull a Peter.
Yeah, like you told me for a year.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. But I really appreciate Mark, and I appreciate all of you reaching out, so thank you.
Glad that you're still here.
Other than that, that's all I've got, unless there's some questions.
No questions? Moving on to visitors. First up is Officer Jeremiah Marins.
I expected a podium to be here.
Okay. How about this? Let's get you one. It's short, what's it, that one? Okay, and are you up on Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Did you share your screen? Okay, it'll take you just a minute to get there.
There's one of those nice new computers now.
Yes, this one should move, work a lot faster than my last.
Even though I won't answer.
And, great. Okay.
They said it sent a request that.
Yep, and Ms. Christie, she will go ahead and acknowledge that.
It's been approved,
Okay, okay,
yeah.
okay, I'm going to now.
Right. Okay, so go back to your Zoom. Now let's go make it big. Let's go down here. Sure. And let's hit your presentation. Hit sharing. I think. There we go. Now take this.
It's up.
Okay, I'll get out of your way. Take this and you'll get out of your way and minimize it. Just excellent. Just back to the top. Minimize that. Okay. It's not showing on your screen. Slideshow. Perfect.
And I was on here this morning.
Here we go. All right, we did it. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. The day is here. It's been, I know it hasn't been a long time coming for you guys. I think this has been like a year or more in the making for me. So I'm gonna start off by handing out some folders here. Good evening. For you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so opening up these folders, the first thing you're gonna be seeing is an agenda. they're just gonna show the contents of each slide in case I go through anything too quickly. I have a lot of material to cover in kind of a short amount of time. So that's why I kind of put that in there. If for any reason I go over anything too quickly, there will be time for questions at the end, but for brevity's sake, I'm going to save questions until the end. I'm going to go through the presentation in one continuous flow, but at the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Alrighty. Here we go. So, good evening, council members and citizens of your heart. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. As many of you know, my name is Officer Jeremiah Mattis of the Gearhart Police Department. I'm here to present a proposal that I believe will greatly benefit both our department and the community we serve. The creation of the Gearhart Police Department K-9 unit. While our department is small, we play a crucial role in supporting the safety of Gearhart and its surrounding area. We often assist neighboring agencies like Seaside Police Department, Cannon Beach Police Department, the Oregon State Police, and the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office during high-stress calls. Establishing a K-9 program here would not only strengthen our own capabilities, but would also add an invaluable shared resource for the entirety of the county. This proposal fully outlines a self-funded program through grants, sponsorships, and community partnerships, ensuring that it will not place any financial burden on the city. Ultimately, this effort represents our continued commitment to proactive policing, officer safety, and community trust. So a quick summary. This program would introduce a dual-purpose K-9, trained for both patrol and tracking, and community engagement. It would be hosted by the Gearhart Police Department, but assist in serving all of Greater Clatsop County. Startup costs are estimated between $20,000 and $30,000 total, with an annual upkeep of around $500 to $2,000. I'll break down those numbers later, but this gives a quick overview of what we're proposing. So the big question is why K-9? All right. So K-9s have been a cornerstone in law enforcement for more than a century. The first organized program started in Europe in the late 1800s, and by the 1950s, they became standard across the US. Today, K-9s are used in everything from tracking missing persons, detecting narcotics, and just community engagement. They've consistently proven to be one of the strongest deterrents to crime. Their presence alone lowers resistance, reduces pursuits, and helps keep both officers and citizens safer. But right now, Clatsop County has only one active K-9 unit, which means coverage in Clatsop County, including Gearhart, is often limited or unavailable. We've seen a rise in fleeing suspects and property crimes, like a recent felony case where a suspect damaged property, fled from police, and later broke into a home with children inside. That case is actually a few months old now. I want to give you guys a couple more recent cases. Just last month, I had a felony warrant suspect wanted for violent person crimes. And I found him heading west from 7th Street. He fled on foot into the dunes. And given that we don't live in a very big metropolitan area, I can't tell dispatch constant cross streets where I'm at. So all I can really tell dispatch is that I'm heading west from 7th Street. And we got maybe a quarter mile out into the dunes before I was able to catch up with my suspect, put him in handcuffs, and he still didn't want to come willingly, right? I found a plethora of weapons on him, ranging from machetes to small knives. That could have been the worst day of his life or my life. Having a K-9 could have either made that span a lot shorter, or it could have deterred it altogether, knowing that there's a K-9 there and people don't want to run from a dog. So that's that. I could have utilized the K-9 there, most definitely. Another one being just last week, we had another wanted felony warrant suspect at the cross street of Ocean and E Street, where Sergeant Brown had contacted him. He fled from Sergeant Brown, again, out into the dunes. By the time that he lost sight of him, by the time we were able to get our resources there, being K9, and that being around 45 minutes, the track was completely contaminated and we weren't able to get our suspect. That same suspect was the suspect that Chief Gregory had to get into the pursuit with the next day. And I guess just 30 minutes ago, we had a high-risk traffic stop here with a known armed suspect just that we found crossing 101 in Pacific Way. So that was within the last hour. So having a dedicated canine here would serve as both a visible deterrent and a rapid response resource when situations escalate. The current canine handler with the Sheriff's Office also expressed that adding a Gearhart canine would be a big help for regional training, cutting down on travel time, allowing us to train here locally instead. Ultimately, it's an effective and affordable resource, one that primarily deters crime through presence, but is fully capable of deployment when needed. The handler selection process. The handler position will be open internally and available to all eligible officers in our department. That ensures the transparent and fair process for selection. We'll follow our established department policy and internal posting procedures when making the final decision. The goal is to select someone not only capable of handling a dual-purpose canine, but also committed to building the program long-term and engaging with our community. I'm not going to sit here and kid you as if the other guys are really wanting this, but to make it transparent, we will open the position internally, and if anyone wants to crack at it, then absolutely they will have the chance to do so. The proposed canine functions. The proposed canine would serve as a dual-purpose dog trained for both patrol and tracking. That means it would assist in locating fleeing suspects or missing persons, provide protection for the handler during high-risk situations, and strengthen our department's presence in the community through school demos and public events. We intend to select a dog with the right balance, highly capable in apprehension and tracking, but with a calm and social temperament for community interaction and engagement. So potential vendors, this is what I've been looking a lot into. We've already identified several reputable potential vendors that specialize in dual-purpose dogs, including Pacific Coast Canine in 9 realms in Washington, Canine WDI, and Custom Canine, as well as Bond Lake Kennels, which is a nationally recognized leader in police canine training and certification. Vendor selection will happen only after the handler is appointed to ensure that we can match the dog's temperament and working style with the right officer, while also meeting all dual-purpose certification standards. Budget, all right, big one. Our estimated starter costs range between $20,000 and $30,000 total. That includes the purchase and training of the canine, the vehicle setup, home kennel, and initial handler gear. Annual recurring costs are very minimal, roughly $500 to $2,000 per year, mainly for food, equipment replacement, and routine veterinary care. We've already spoken with North Coast Pet Clinic, who's offered to provide vet care at cost, which helps us keep long-term expenses very low. And behind that agenda, there is an email chain that reflects that. Overall, this makes the program extremely cost efficient and a valuable public resource with minimal ongoing expenses. Just in case anybody doesn't know what at cost means, it just means that the vet clinic itself would not be making any money on the care for the dog itself. They would just be charging us for the supplies to care for the dog. And if any of us have animals or pets of our own, you know where most of that bill is coming from. It's to pay the doctors, the vet techs. I guess if any of us have been to the doctor ever, we know where most of our bill is going to. So it drastically cut that payment down. All right, so quick equipment breakdown. I talked to several handlers to make sure that this was accurate in a one-time cost of making sure that this is what we needed to fully outfit the unit. So this slide gives a quick overview of the basic gear the canine would need for daily operations. Everything listed here is standard for dual-purpose dog, including e-collar, harness, tracking leashes, muzzle, and the kennel setup. Altogether, this gear falls right in line with the budget range we covered earlier and represents a one-time investment to fully equip the unit. Insurance and liability. So adding a new thing, especially a dog, everyone's gonna talk about insurance, right? Well, good thing I already talked about insurance. So I spoke with our city CIS representative, Jeff Williams, and our assigned underwriter, Bob Knudsen, to review how the canine program would fit within our current insurance coverage. Because our department is part of the city's general liability policy, which already covers our agencies that are much larger than our three-man department, there would be no additional cost liability-wise from adding a canine. However, there's always a catch. Since the canine would be considered a city asset, it is recommended that we insure the dog to protect against unexpected death or injury, whether that be from natural causes or, God forbid, line of duty. Our insurance agent, Tony Wozniak, provided a quote for a $20,000 policy at just $136.80 per year. And there is also a email chain there in your folders as well that reflects that as well. Cost saving measures. To keep costs as low as possible, we secured several community partnerships and potential donations. Again, Northcoast Pet Clinic has agreed to provide veterinary care at cost, which drastically cuts down annual expenses. We're also in talks with Four Paws on the Beach, who are interested in sponsoring the canine's food. They've already reached out wanting to help with ongoing support. In exchange for the sponsoring of the food, we would just provide kind of a sponsorship where the dog would take pictures out front of their business, or in at local events, we would just kind of give them shouts out and thank yous for supporting the unit as well. In addition, both Reading and Reedsport police departments have offered to donate canine inserts for our patrol vehicle, which would save several $1,000s in equipment costs right away. No salary increase is being requested for this position. Overtime would only apply for callouts or training. And all our sponsors and supporters would receive public recognition through social media and local events. Canine grants are among the most plentiful and well-supported grants to law enforcement, especially for smaller agencies like ours. The idea of giving an officer a reliable partner in the field resonates deeply with both grant programs and donors. Many of these organizations specifically prioritize departments that operate with limited staffing and resources, because they understand the value of a canine, where an officer often works alone for 12-hour shifts. After extensive research, I haven't found a single canine-related grant that our department doesn't qualify for. Between programs like the DOJ Byron JAG grant, the American Kennel Club Reunite grant, and the Canine WDI Elite grant, we're eligible for significant funding that could cover most, if not all, of our startup costs. Even in the event that we do not secure full grant funding, I plan to organize community fundraisers and local donation events to make sure this program succeeds without causing any financial burden to the city. One of the biggest strengths of this program is that it doesn't just benefit Gerhardt, it benefits all of Clatsop County. The canine unit would be a regional asset, able to assist neighboring agencies when they need tracking, patrol support, or community engagement. Gearhart calls will always remain top priority. But having a local handler who lives in town means we can also respond quickly when other agencies request help. This opens the door for shared training opportunities, joint grant applications, and more community involvement through school demos and public events. It's a chance for our small department to make a big contribution to the safety and unity of the region. So at this point, what I'm asking from the council is approval to move forward to open the internal posting for a handler position, begin outreach to vendors, and start the process of applying for grants and accepting donations from our partners. I don't want to stand here and sound disingenuous by saying this is only about the greater good of Gearhart. Although this program will absolutely benefit the city and the entirety of the county, the truth is, this is something I'm deeply passionate about. It's a direction I've always wanted to go in my law enforcement career. And I see this as an opportunity to create something meaningful and long-lasting here in Gearhart. Over the past few years, I've gained a real understanding of why the citizens of Gearhart value having their own police department. We know our residents, we understand them, we know their needs, and we take pride in serving a community that values strong personal connections with their officers. And even though we work closely with surrounding agencies, Gearhart itself is unique. And the trust and identity within this community is something worth investing in. So I'm not just asking for this program on behalf of the citizens of Gearhart and Clatsop County. I'm asking for it as part of my long-term commitment to this department. This is where I want to build my career. This is where I want to grow, serve, and eventually retire. And I believe that establishing this K-9 program is not only a step forward for public safety, but also a way for me to deepen my roots here and continue contributing at the highest level for many years to come. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions and recommendations.
Anyone with questions?
You're looking at me, because you know I will, but I'll let anybody else ask first.
Just curious, how much does the dog cost?
The dog itself would cost around 15 to 20,000.
Okay, so the insurance of 20,000 would really only cover the dog
The dog itself,
and
yes.
not all the training that went into it. I mean, I'm just wondering if maybe it would be better to have higher insurance on it.
Yeah, and it would be because the dog comes trained. The places that I would be looking at, the dog comes as a package, kind of a package deal. It's already a trained dog, so it would cover a trained dog.
Yeah, but that doesn't cover your time in working.
Not my time. It covers the dog itself. It's just curious. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say good presentations. And not only that, I want to say I've worked with a lot of law enforcement officers, and I am thrilled with your initiative and your drive. And just the fact that at your level, you're looking around and trying to figure out ways to make our department better and our city safer. I commend you for that. That is phenomenal. Now I'm about to point out some cockroach in your yard, okay? So my first question for you is, how long is the training that you would have to go through in order, the initial training, and where does it occur?
Standard would be 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, and where does it occur?
It depends on which place I would go to, but there would be, so there's some trainings in Washington. It would be, okay?
You okay?
But yeah, some in Washington, some as far as Utah. It just depends on which one we go with.
Okay, so your cost breakdown for training, did it include the cost of the training and the lodging, the food, the travel, and the backfill for your position while you're gone for those 3 or 4 weeks or however long it is?
Yeah, it does not so it does not include the backfill here, but it doesn't include the training itself, yes.
Okay.
And then so anything that would cost lodging, that would be out of state, most of those places have in-house lodging. And I wouldn't be asking for any sort of like pay stipend for food or anything like that, I would just pay for it.
Okay. So I want you to understand, that under federal law, there are certain things that we can allow you to volunteer to do and pay for on your own, and there are certain things that we can't. So we would have to follow the city policies as far as what we're gonna pay for and what we're not. And also, before I could say, this sounds like a good idea, we need to get a legal analysis as far as if we would have any exposure for the after hours time that you spend on it when you take the dog to the vet. Is that on paid time or is that time that you're allowed to go to? I would, when you feed the dogs, when you're going to get food, and also the ongoing, going to and from training, I'd want to know what our liability exposure would be for that as far as whether we have to pay you or whether you can volunteer that time, because I know other departments, there have been lawsuits involved in that. So I would like to get a legal analysis in this state, just for my edification.
I would imagine training would be just like any other training I go to for, I'm also a defensive taxes instructor, so anytime I have to renew on any sort of that type of training, then it'd be the same as when I go and travel for that.
Right. So next question. So what is the plan for covering Gerhardt if you were, this sounds like a great thing for Clatsop County, for like a mutual aid standpoint, you would be assisting. But what is the plan to cover Gerhardt if you are called out of our city to help someplace else? Who's gonna be covering our city?
Yeah, so I've already spoken with our sheriff, and he's expressed that he's more than willing to already do what we already have planned, or what we already have in accordance with the sheriff's department to cover our city with a deputy while an officer is, or while our canine officer is dealing with some sort of call out or something like that.
Okay. So what happens to the dog when you're on vacation?
So the canine community is actually, it's a very tight-knit community, but what we do, or what they do as a canine community is that a dog, if a canine handler was to go on vacation, that the canine could not go on vacation with the dog.
Right.
Then another canine handler would take the dog with them, and while the handler was on vacation. We just be vice versa. I would also take in their dog while they're on vacation as well.
So we'd have to write some type of policy for the department as far as what would happen to the dog. There's some set rules. What happens if you promote? Does the dog go with you, or would this dog, would the next person coming in as potentially a patrol officer have an opportunity to I would like to see you promote sometime. I would like to see you stay healthy forever.
Yeah.
But we all know law enforcement can be kind of a dangerous
for sure.
endeavor. So what happens
Promote
if
within
something
our
happens?
department, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah. What happens if you promote within our department? Or what if you got injured and you couldn't work for our department anymore? And I'm not wishing that on you. I'm just saying, what happens to the dog if for some reason you aren't in your existing position?
Yeah, so promotion in our department, there's very, as you all know, there's very little movement in our department. But if I was to move up to that sergeant position, then I would just be sergeant canine handler, if that was to be the case. But there is always the opportunity, if I wanted to focus on sergeant duties of one person, then I can another officer can have the opportunity to move into the canine position as well. But I'm looking to have the program and to continue it until for the entirety of the longevity of the program.
Okay. And then the next question, this is my last question, so I'll let you move on, but if you were to come up with a list of the top 5 to 10 things that our department needs to acquire as far as resources that we need to invest in order to make our department the best department that it can be, and maybe even modernize to standards that perhaps we should already be to. Would this make your top 5 or top 10 list?
Yes, for me, yes.
I'd be interested in seeing a list of what the goals for the department are, as far as what resources you would like to see us invest in. To get a whole picture of other things that we might need to spend money on.
Yeah, in all honesty, I'd probably put it in my top three, having first off, more officers, just to be able to cover more hours. And then second, just having more ability to have, because even if we did have another officer, it would just cover those extra hours that we were paying county, right? But even if that wasn't the case, or if we did have another officer, then having more resources for city community officers, because there's been a lot of times when I don't know whether or not I'm gonna be safe in that situation. I know my backup's 20 minutes away. That situation when I was telling you I was out in the dunes, my backup took 30 minutes to get to me. And again, when you're out there wrestling with somebody in the middle, it's 1 a.m. and I'm out there in the middle of the night. No one's really gonna be able to hear me, and our radios already suck as they are. So it can get scary at times, and just more things to prop up safety it would be very helpful.
Well, again, I thank you for your presentation, and you put a lot of work into this, and I'm very impressed. But I'm gonna tell you honestly, I would not be ready to say, go start raising money for this right now. I would like a few more, a little bit more information, like I said, like a legal analysis of after hours exposure and some of the other things, a little bit deeper, time to dive a little deeper into the numbers as far as the ongoing costs, because I think that maybe your estimations might be a little low.
And just to be clear, by the way, this is incredible what you put together. Just to be clear, so if you go to the training school, which is 3 to 4 weeks, what, do we hire the sheriff to cover him being gone? And is the city gonna foot that bill? And
So my understanding is from the sheriff, and I would obviously like to get this in more concrete, is because this is a service to the county, not just your PD or your citizens, that he would be more than happy to provide additional coverage during those times. And now I'm not guaranteed, this is just my understanding through conversations, so nothing's been solidified. I also have talked with Lieutenant Knight in Seaside, and he's basically a focus on just, the little calls for service that need to occur when we're not on. And again, Sergeant Brown and I can just take on call, it's 4 weeks. So if there's something that's going on and I need to go from my own and respond to something, that's fine as well. We'll do a little extra to get a little extra.
And that's an excellent point, but remember, you're also receiving a little bit more pay than he is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
So to backfill him, we'd be paying you just a little bit more. So those are where the numbers are not, for me, aren't quite making sense.
right, I think just to nail down the exact costs that the city's going to incur versus what you're gonna be able to raise, and some clarity of the problem.
Yeah, and as of right now, I'm not asking for any money. So I'm only asking for the ability to start. And if I can start making money in the future, if my numbers are low for any reason, then I can come back to you guys and we can figure out those numbers. But even then, this could be a process, but I think it's upward of 3 years or something like that. But it's just something that I can work forward to, and work towards. It's not something that's, you say yes to now and it happens tomorrow. It's a long process.
How often do they hold the training, the initial training?
The training happens monthly, and then it's like.
I mean, the introductory, the long training that you would have to attend in order to get your certification.
Yeah, so that would have, it's like, depending on the facility you're going to, you could find training at any point in time, in reality. That would just really be if you would need to I would need to pinpoint a vendor first, and then a training, and then I would set a date and go there. But we don't even have any funds yet to be able to pinpoint anything like that. We would need to be reaching out to people first, and I don't have that ability yet, because I don't want to be making steps without talking to anybody.
Okay.
I just need to research.
Okay, chief?
Yeah, so if I could ask if the council would be able to maybe put together some type of list so that we can have something to work off of and maybe get those questions answered for you in a timely manner, something
You
that we can kind of concrete set on.
You bet.
Can you do that, Sharon?
Sure. Yeah.
I know you can. Preston?
So my experience with dogs, which I've owned on my entire life is, and not, I mean, we're not talking about, canine unit dogs. Normally a dog is one person. Particularly the kinds of dogs that, like the military use, or went by the soccer fields the other day. County sheriff's deputies were out there training their dog. So what happens when you are on vacation or something like that? How does a dog react to, say, Chief Gregory or Sergeant Brown? Or
Yeah, so that would be the thing, is that the people that the dog is around are the people that he's used to. And we wouldn't be looking for something that's strictly patrol. And now the dogs are so trained. They're dogs canines have come a long way from back then, if I'm to put that into words, I guess. But they come a long way to where they used to just have them kenneled and separated from, like, basically humanity. And they have a purpose, they have a job, and that's what they do. Now they don't do that anymore. They found it better to have them socialized and be with the people, and they know when they're given a command or when it's time to work, and it's time to work. But it's always better to have the dog with an officer that they're familiar with. So whether it be Chief Gregory, who's used to be a canine handler himself, or Sergeant Brown, or another canine handler, but there's not usually a problem. I have only had maybe a few months of exposure to our current canine unit with the county and Draco, and at first he was very standoffish with me, and now he comes up to me and licks me, and I mean he's still a terrifying dog because he's a giant eye piercing dog, but he's a nice dog, but he can go to work when he needs to go to work.
I piggybacking on that, I'm sure you know this, but just to say, typically, at least in my experience, canine dogs they're not on duty while the primary operator's on vacation. Because there's a little bit of liability in that if the dog is given to somebody who doesn't have certification and something bad happens, even if our insurance is willing to cover that, somebody can spend a lot of days on the stand explaining why it wasn't an oopsie or why we were not negligent. So you have to, typically they're just given to somebody takes them home and sends him a million questions like, am I allowed to let him counter surf? What do I do with your dog? And can I sell it? So they're just typically taken out of service for the time.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Paulina with her.
I just really have a comment. I agree that any assessment with regard to liability should be complete and certainly want to be able to review that. But I also see this, and I spoke to you about this a few days ago, that this is also a matter of retention for employees. And it's not inexpensive to bring any employee on board in any organization. And so if this is a method that we can have retention of good officers, I would be very supportive of that.
How long before you can have your questions ready?
I can have them ready tomorrow.
Okay, we'll have the questions for you tomorrow. I think if we get the answers and everyone is on board with that, then we can discuss this again next month, okay?
Okay.
And we can possibly come up with a consensus.
I mean, can we do this in a work session?
We cannot make a decision in work session.
Right.
Or get a consensus. So that's, if you can get the questions to the chief, then we can go ahead and start,
For the old business.
go to, yeah, whatever we decide to do. I'm not saying we're decided anything, okay? Thank you very much, officer.
Thank you. Thank you, John, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Acuity, I don't have a name for you.
Corey.
Who?
Corey.
Corey.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Can we hear you? Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, I'm Corey from Acuity. Thanks for having me present tonight. We completed the city's audit this summer. I love to hear, Chad, that you were saying the benches are moving along, because we loved hearing about that project when we were here, or when we were there. So we are mostly good news tonight, all good news, I think. When we did the audit, we didn't have any audit adjustments. I always like to talk about that with councils and boards, because it means that the reports that you're using monthly to make decisions and getting from your staff are accurate. I think that's really, really important for you to hear. So we didn't have any changes to those this year. And there's a big congratulations to Justine in that. I mean, she's doing a great job. So the next piece was Oregon has us look at what we call minimum standards, and it's, did you adopt your budget legally? Did you comply with budget law? Did you award public contracts in accordance with Oregon law? Did you have insurance? And we're using the correct bank depositories, because there's some reporting around that. Good news is we didn't have any issues this year with any minimum standard stuff. So no budget issues, no public contract issues. So that's another place to congratulate your staff on doing good work and being diligent in tracking finances and bringing changes before you as a council with budget if that needs to happen. The city has done a lot of work around public contracts, I know, over the last several years. So again, I just want to draw attention to the fact that there were no findings, and that's really good. So congratulations on that as well. Overall, if we look at the financials themselves, the city ended the year June 30 of 2025 with 12.2 million of assets. About 9.3 of that is in fixed assets, buildings, equipment, infrastructure, that sort of thing. And the rest is cash. The overall governmental funds, so your governmental funds are everything but your water fund, and they're designed to be mainly funded through not user charges, anything but user charges. So those funds, they decreased $800,000 last year, which is a big number for your city. However, when you're looking at those, there's not a place to panic, because about 900,000 of that was capital outlay. A big chunk of that was the public safety building studies, and so that was all planned for. You knew that was coming, so it wasn't a shock, and it wasn't something we expect to see year over year. So not a big concern from a long-term financial standpoint. The water fund. And one of the things we always look at is the cash flow statement from the water fund. Did operations provide positive cash flow? This year they did not. They had an $82,000 loss just from the operations piece. And what that tells us typically is that user rates aren't quite what they need to be. However, usually we'll discuss that with staff. You guys already took action to remedy that. So now that's a kind of an outdated fact at this point. So I don't expect to see that again next year when we're doing audit testing. And it's something that sometimes things happen, but it is one measure that we always like to talk with staff about, because it's hard. Utility rates are such a balancing act. So, and I think the last thing I'd say is long-term debt is down to 1.575 million. You've got 5 years, I believe, left on your, you've done the refinance to lower interest rates on that. And so it's almost paid off, which is good news. Did anybody have any questions? It's exciting stuff.
No, I think we're so happy with what Justine does and what you have just said that
As you should be, as you should be. Yeah. And we do appreciate, she mentioned earlier in the meeting that that she'll reach out. We really appreciate when clients will reach out and ask for help, because we're so happy to be a partner and make sure that it makes the year steadier. So that way, when we get there for audit, it's not a bunch of surprises or a bunch of bad news. So it is a good working relationship.
Great. Well, you waited all that time to tell us good news.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you.
Good job, Justin.
Thank you.
All right,
All
we're gonna
right.
move on. Kevin from Cedar.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors, good evening. And it's my pleasure to give an update to the Gearhart City Council and citizens this evening about Cedar's results for this past year. But just a quick overview, Cedar has been part of Clackamas County since 2008. It was formed, there was I understand about 24 unique economic development organizations throughout the entire county. And at the time, the 2008, Skip Halke, who was the Estuary Warrington Chamber Director, and Al Smile, Seaside Chamber Director, went to the college and to the county and to the cities and said that we need a unified economic development organization, and Cedar was formed. That was back in 2008. Gearhart was a founding member, continues to be a member. I started as part-time advisor for our Small Business Development Center. I grew up in Clatsop County, fourth generation Clatsop County folk. And in 2011, I was promoted to be the director of the Clatsop Community College Small Business Development Center in July. In September of 2011, the Cedar director came to me and said that he had discussed with the board, the Cedar board, and that he had requested to take a step down to be an advisor, and suggested to the board that I take on additional responsibilities as the Cedar director. And here I am 14 years later with my dream job. So my title is the executive director of Clatsop Economic Development Resources and associate vice president for the Clatsop Community College Center for Business, Community, and Professional Development. Next slide, Chad. So a quick reviews, the small print here, but I know that maybe the councilors have the information in front of them. I know it's also public, but just a quick overview, kind of like what Cedar did this past year. And I just gave some examples here. We worked with federal and state elected officials and field teams to address the potential impacts of the FEMA buyout changes impacting here throughout the county and the entire state of Oregon. Councilor Dana is on our Cedar board. She comes to our Cedar board meetings, which we really appreciate as an active participant. Coordinated regional response to the Tongue Point Job Corps Center. We all know that they were slated for closure, and worked very diligently with our legislative team, the Senator Merkley and Wyden's staff, as well as Congresswoman Bonamici, et cetera, to coordinate a response. Was on speed dial for quite a long time with Mac, the Tongue Point director. And just the good news is that that was delayed. And we understand at this point that the Tongue Point Job Corps Center has been funded, I believe, at least through May or June of 2026 of this year. So they're bringing on the students. It's a key employer for our county, and we're very excited about that. I did testify. The Legislative Ways and Means Committee came to Clatsop County in March, and I presented in support of the Small Business Development Center funding, as we rely on the funding from Business Oregon, from the SBA, and from our host Clatsop Community College. And we had some other regional funding, some funding through ARPA, et cetera, but that was being sunsetted. Just to ask for their continued support, since Business Oregon is mandated through the legislature about the funding side of things. And Columbia Memorial Hospital's $8 million construction project. We know they had the BRIC grant that was approved and then pulled back, but approved again. And just again, give with the $3 million construction project to give support there. I was invited as the only non-employee to speak at the Georgia Pacific Water Mill. And I've said in all my meetings I go to that kind of, I'm here in Gearhart, but people live in Gearhart, work elsewhere. I live in Estuary, I work in Seaside. So the impact throughout the entire county of our small and large employers is felt everywhere. And there was a $158 million Georgia Pacific investment made in a new paper machine. I also serve, Chad mentioned the overview to the mayor and council. I'm also the enterprise zone manager for Clatsop County. And we worked on doing the county manager, we worked with the team at Georgia Pacific Moana, who frankly was a little, they've been gun shy, I guess I would say, about working with government, and put that in air quotes. And it was just a very positive process for the Georgia Pacific folks and for us, and they're the largest taxpayer in Clatsop County. Providing transition support, a Cedar board member, permanent member, the permanent members of the Cedar board are the 5 cities, Clatsop County, the Port of Astoria, and Clatsop Community College. But we also voted a few years ago to also have as permanent members Columbia Memorial Hospital and Providence Seaside Hospital as our largest, number 1 and number 3 employers in terms of employees in the county. And so they're permanent. So I worked with Rebecca Copeland, who's a very, very active member of our board. So sad to see her go, but I know that she moved on, stayed within the Providence network. She's in Hood River now. And then Jason Pamanon, the chief nursing officer, was named interim CEO, and he's joined our Cedar board. And I found out this morning that he's been selected as the permanent CEO, as chief administrative officer. So really pleased about that. And then I just want to mention for the city of Gerhart about the Small Business Development Center. We served 22 Gerhart businesses over the past 5 years. And what we do is I'll get more into detail when I go through the SBDC, but we provide free and confidential advising. So I cannot say who the clients are unless they give us permission to do so. And we've had many of those over the years that we do highlight. And 210 clients in the 9713 zip code. And our office is located in Seaside. Our main office is 5 minutes away from here. Cedar was proud to be the co-founder of the Clatsop Job and Career Fair. We've been doing it along with the Oregon Employment Department, WorkSource Oregon. Been doing it now for almost for about 12 years. And we have, I guess, give a recap of last year. But we always look, I grew up in retail in the private sector. It's like, what did you do for me yesterday and today and tomorrow? So looking forward, we have our 2006 Clatsop Job and Career Fair here in Seaside at the Seaside Civic and Convention Center. Finally able to book a date that worked for them and for our students. And we're going to rebrand it for 2026. It's going to be the Clatsop Job and Career Exploration Fair. And we have the entire convention center. We're looking for volunteers also to help us with this. We're going to have breakout sessions with healthcare and other sectors. We have our initial meeting January the 22nd. It's with our 5 county high schools, Clatsop Community College, citizens, and volunteers, etc. And we usually have about 70 to 75 employers there. And it's just nice to spread out and be able to, and we know that things are tightening up on the economy. So this is also for not only for our high school students and our college students, it's also, of course, for our general job seekers throughout the entire county. In the past, we had like a 2-hour window for the general job seekers to come in at the end, but now they'll be allowed, they're invited to come in for the entire time. I think you're all aware that WorkSource Oregon has relocated their office to Seaside and to the Outlet Mall. And I actually had Kevin Robitaille, who is the manager there, walk over to my office yesterday, and we planned, so it's nice to have that also connection here. Our Cedar Annual Awards event, it highlights countywide our businesses, and so proud to have that. It's a highlight for our business community. Countywide, and we again have this year's event coming in Seaside. You're all invited. Please attend. Save the date, May 22nd. Next slide, please, Chad. Childcare. Cedar has been a member of the Clatsop County Child Care Advisory Committee. We do hold our meetings here in South County and Seaside. And just a recap, since 2002, $854,000 has been awarded to our licensed child care providers. We know that it's very difficult to, in the economy here with our housing, with our workforce development, and with childcare. And these are scholarships. Most of this money came from ARPA funding from the county. It also came, though, Providence Seaside Hospital has funded $200,000 in grant dollars over the last several years to apply against this, as well as Columbia Memorial Hospital. We meet monthly, and we have folks from all the different sectors that attend that. Community engagement, our team, we have a great team. We have a small but mighty team. We meet and we attend the weekly Seaside Chamber and SDDA meetings, including here in Gerhart, that happen. And then the Clatsop Works internship program, I'm going to talk about that in more detail in a few minutes here. That's become a real signature program for our county, and Ricky Bateman as our manager for that. And the Clatsop County Partnership, oversight in my position, I'm a direct report to the president of the college, and that's on the SBDC side. On the Cedar side, I report to our board, the Cedar board. And I just, again, recapping our SBDC, our community education program. I also oversee the plumber's apprenticeship program here in the trades here. Lance Diamond is our instructor, and that meets here in Seaside, fall and spring term. And like staff champion, if you will, we're the business Eisner's of the college, and it's part of our key part of our mission here. So next slide. I just recap, this was last year's budget that was approved July the 1st by the board. And just kind of a recap, the revenue is on the top, the expenses on the bottom, on the left side here. And it just shows where the funding comes from. I'll already mention about myself being the director for both positions for many, many years. We've been working on a strategy to have a full-time SBDC director, and Jessica Newhall was our wonderful associate director, and Jessica is now working for Pacific Power. Wish her all the best. Keep in touch with her. So the plan is in the next few years to gain that strategy about having two separate directors. But right now, we're a lean team, and we're working and really delivering with the team that we have. So I just have the recap here for the county, the cities. Gerhard did zero out Cedar's funding for this past year, and I'm here tonight just to give you education, and I know that planning process starts for the budget coming up here soon. The private sector sponsorship, we have private sector members, which are in the next page, a listing of them. We also have Samuel S. Johnson Foundation, Betsy Johnson, contributed $5,000 last year to Cedar because of the work that we do in economic development. And then again, kind of the breakdown on the Fed, I said about the SBA and Business Oregon. You see there the $115,000. That is specifically for our SBDC. That is for our advising that we do to our community. And then the expenses, I get a recap to the board last year. Because again, we also had a lot of ARPA funding that we had gone to the county, and we had received about $300,000 from the county over a 3-year period. We also had from the Oregon legislature, $258,000 that the SBDC was dedicated for that over the last few years to build programs. Again, I'll talk some more in a few minutes on that. But that's all sunsetted as of the last week, actually, December 31st. But I talk about the strategy to develop down the road, a long-term strategy that's on the Cedar board, and I'm looking for funding for that, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm also happy to answer questions here as I'm going through here, please. The next page. Next slide. This is our members, the financial, it's nice to have the private sector and again, our public sector members. We are in the renewal process right now for the members, and we've had about a 90% renewal rate with our private sector members so far. So we're really excited about that. Next slide. Again, just mention the Clatsop Job and Career Fair, and save the date, please come March the 3rd. Next slide. Cedar Awards event, so you can probably recognize some faces there, Jeff Terhart, for example, winners, and it's just again, I know several of you have come over the years. I'd invite everybody to come. It's just so inspirational when you have these businesses being acknowledged. Businesses don't get enough thank you, and you see a lot of plaques, a lot of Cedar plaques around the county we're very, very proud of, and these businesses just work their asses off every day to be successful, and we're so proud of our business community. Next slide. Clatsop Community College, I just wanted to have a slide here on our strategic plan for the college. You're aware that the college is going through a lot of transition, and I'm just so happy to have Jared Hogue as our president and leader. He is very forward-thinking. He rolls up his sleeves, just really pleased, and also we have a board. There was quite a few issues with our college board over the last few years. Things have stabilized. Recently, we had Bill Montero, for example, that was appointed to the college board. We also have Joyce DeHansek from South County and Ashley Flukinger on our college board. So it's a nice balance of the entire county on our college board. And I just want to just call out here on the strategic priorities, the bottom right, build and sustain partnerships. That's what I'm the champion of with our business community and with all of our partners. Next slide, please. Mentioning community education, professional development, we have Josh Allison, who is our coordinator for that, and they have had great growth here. Just some examples. Community ed is very important. to our community, to all of our citizens and to our students. And just some examples of what Community Ed's done. And for the academic year 2024-25, how many classes have been programmed, how many participants, professional development and community ed, and Josh does a phenomenal job. Next slide. SBDC, this is last year's performance for our center. For our class, we have 18 centers in the state of Oregon. And recently I was asked to, our center was asked to take on Columbia County's SBDC. There was some issues with Columbia County with the approach for servicing this community. And so as of July the 1st, in addition to Clatsop County, we are servicing remotely Columbia County, and that's going well. But our core deliverables are in Clatsop County. And this is, I think, just a great recap just showing how many clients we served, 258 last year. 58% of those were women-owned businesses. We also have the pre-venture clients, meaning those that have not opened businesses yet. 38% pre-venture, it's on the left side there, the second from the bottom of the box there. And 62% existing businesses. I'm proud to say when I was made the director in 2011, we had about a 50-50 in terms of pre-venture, a lot of tire kickers and existing, but we've really earned, the entire team have earned the credibility with our business community. So we have the existing businesses coming to us more and more. This is a picture of our team here, that we have a great team. And next slide, please. Some of the programs we have, some of the funding that we got from Business Oregon, other centers use it to cover staff. We knew that it was going to go away, it's grant money. So we use it for programs. We have this Learn World, we have a new software program that we've been installing, and we're excited. We have a studio that has been installed in our Astoria campus, and that's where some of that funding went for. And to the right there, it shows free business advising. I can mention the person's name that's up there, Carrie Farmer. She owns a business called Bayside Audiology. That's what school with her mother, a high school with her mother. And she has allowed us, she came to us, she's worked with our SBDC, she's worked with our small business management program that Dana talked about, I'll talk about here in a minute, franchise signature program. And we have free and confidential, core competency, core deliverable. Next slide. Again, some of the funding that we got from Business Oregon, the legislative funding, by the way, it was $3 million the legislature allocated for the entire state of Oregon. And we at Clatsop requested $258,000 of the $3 million, and pretty big percentage, and we were awarded that to the penny. So that was especially boot camps, things we hadn't had before. So we had a restaurant boot camp, we had a food and beverage boot camp, and retail. Those were all new from that funding. The Launch My Business boot camp, we have had it in our system for about 4 years now. Maya Freeman leads that, and Eric Stromquist. 63% of folks that go through the Launch My Business boot camp open a business. And we're so proud of that. Meyer and Eric do a great job in the businesses. And it also allows us on the little report I showed a few minutes ago with all of our little bubbles and whatever, to have as many business starts as we did last year. That's kind of our secret sauce. Next slide. Small business management, again, Dan talked about that. We have level 2 that's been going on. This is something that's been part of the college, been part of the SBDC since 2013, but I've overseen this. We have Grant Lehman, who is our facilitator and instructor. Level 2 has been going on since October. We're recruiting for level 1, like Dana said, and we're very excited. We have several applications. We only have room for a couple more, and it starts next week. And I mentioned in meetings that I'm in a lot of meetings, we're all in a lot of meetings. Business is tough out there. It was a tough holiday season for our retailers. I talked to the hospitality industry, restaurants. I'm sure you all hear this. And I just want to say that, folks that go through classes like this and workshops and cohorts are more successful. Every year I sign impacts that go to the SBA, and it's got to be, it's audited. So that's up to the business to sign off that we help them. And many of the impacts I sign off every year are folks that have gone through these programs, including our small business management program. Next slide. I'm so proud that I was named the state star for the state of Oregon this year, 2020, past year, 2025. And that's not me, it's our team. But I was in Orlando, and it was great to have Oregon up there as a state star and myself, but representing, of course, Clatsop Community College, Classic County and the state of Oregon. Just proud to be up on the stage representing our state, and that was a big honor for myself personally and for our region and for our SBDC. Next slide. So Classic Works was established in 2018. I worked with Craig Hoppus, the Astoria School Superintendent, and folks at the Hampton Lumber Mill and some other folks to launch a real world summer paid internship program. Started in 2018. We had, I remember because I've been here since the beginning, we had 11 employers and 17 interns the first summer. And I'll share the stats, what's coming up here. And some of them are on the slides here, next slide here. And this is showing some growth, major growth here in South County. Next slide. So we've had 215 Classic County students received through this program. And again, Misty Bateman is our manager. She does a phenomenal job. She's really the energy behind this. So we had 43 students last summer. And what we do is between an 8 and 10-week period where the employer hires these interns and they give them, specific skills and jobs that they ask them to do. We also have as a key part of our experience, every Wednesday during the summer, we have career exploration that shows them on the beach here at Seaside. This was volleyball. And so the students are all pulled together every week, Cannon Beach, the Haystack Awareness Program, other locations, to get together and to learn about other different career opportunities that there could be. It's been phenomenal. Next slide. So again, just showing Seaside High School, the growth that we've had, the height we've ever seen. We struggled in the first couple of years with Seaside, but they have just been rocking and rolling. So just really great. Next slide. And this shows that in summer 2024, how many applications we had, how many students were hired that were Seaside High School or Classic Community College Seaside grads in summer 2025. Next slide. And then, we all talk about building our own here. It's like, we know housing prices are very expensive. We know that, all of the kind of challenges we have, right? And throughout all of us have. And this just shows that there's long-term possibilities. 33 of these students over the years have gone from summer interns to full-time hires throughout Classic County, throughout our community. And these are photos of the ones, some of them who have been hired by our employers. And next slide, please, Chad. So just showing again the growth, and Misty really has done a phenomenal job, and of course our employers who fund this. We have these employers that they pay for the salary for the interns, but Misty is also, we work together to get some scholarship funding from the state. We have $27,000 still in our restricted funds for that. And so we've already had the request for the employers for this year, and we're looking for another 10,000 that we think we're going to be able to get from the from the Northwest Oregon Works folks and some other resources to allow our employers to say, I'd love to do it, but I can't afford it, or some of our small businesses. So we have those available. So it shows again, next slide there. It shows again just great things here. And South County employers, including Coastal Restoration here in Gerhardt, who has participated since the beginning actually. And some listing, and again, it's just, grow our own, and it also brings these students to the college, because it's a program for the high school, if I was not clear on this, for our high schools age 16 and up, and for college students. You can be 85 years old and be on it, if you're a college student. And so, and we also work with Time Point Job Corps Center, and we've had several internships there. So just, that is my update. I'm happy to answer any questions for the mayor, the councilors, if you have any questions for me this evening.
Any questions?
More of a comment. I know that during the budget process, we talked in the past about your applications for grants.
Correct. Yeah.
And I know that at least during the last budget process, there were quite a few people that said that they didn't understand how supporting you would serve Gerhardt, because we're not a huge business environment.
Correct.
But I would say that not only do many of our businesses have received services from you and support from you and your organizations, which I'm now learning. It's also a quality of life they support the businesses around us in our county that we all rely on. They're doing things for our kids. They are supporting some of the employers of the folks in our city. So we need to remember that although you may not see a direct line to the benefit to our citizens in Gerhart through this organization, it definitely is there. And if they were not supported, that it could hurt Gerhart in unforeseen ways. So. I just wanna share.
Appreciate that.
And also, you know, when I brought it to your attention that, when we brought it to your attention that there seemed to be a misunderstanding, y'all stepped up right away, and Meyer went with me door to door.
Right.
Businesses leaving
No,
court and saying,
thank you
this
for
is
doing
who
that,
we
Mike.
are, this is.
Thank you for doing that
this
with
is
the
what
rack
we
cards
do
here at
for
City
you,
Hall.
and yeah,
we
so and
appreciate
I wanna
that.
thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, thank you, man. Thank you, Council.
It's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're gonna move on to public communication. Oral public comment. Anyone wishing to address the city council concerning items of interest not on the agenda may do so at this time. All remarks will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Requests to comment electronically must be submitted by email to the city recorder at info@cityofgerhart.com no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. In-person attendees wishing to speak are required to sign in prior to the meeting. First person on the list is Tom Tees. Please state your name and address.
Tom Tees, Post Office Box 298. Gerhard, Oregon. Two things I'd like to talk about, and that's City Council. I want to thank you for everything you do. You have been put here by majority vote in your seat. I think that's important to know. And it tells me that you must be doing something right. So thank you very much. The other thing is about the fire department. 10 years, wow. Ah, man, 10 years. I would like to give you a visualization, and that is a bridge from Warrenton to Cannon Beach. It is held up with 4 superstructures holding up that bridge. It's a well-built bridge. Cars, tourists, everybody, police, fire, everyone drives over that thing every day. It works. It's all tied together. Without one of them, it's not going to work. I feel what is happening now is that one of those are losing their supports. Slowly, a little bit. Couple boards don't mean nothing. Couple more, a little bit more. But what happens then is that one area starts getting weak. What happens then is that the supports here and here are now having to take that weight. And not just them, because then these supports here are having to help this weight to cover that one weight. Those 4 superstructures are Warrenton, Gerhart, Seaside, Cannon Beach. And I think Seaside, I'm afraid that Seaside is going to lose that support. It is volunteer driven. Seaside has a bond voted in, I think, every 5 years. Every 5 years, they get that bond. They have a paid fire department. Cannon Beach has a paid fire department. I don't know a whole lot about Warrenton. Seaside does not have, Gerhart does not have that support. And I'm really, really afraid that it's not going to hurt just us. It's going to hurt Seaside. Because Seaside is going to have to help start covering us. You know, Sharon, thank you for saying what you said. You know, because Seaside's not interested in building our building. And this is my view only, but why would Seaside, a city that has a strong yes vote for their fire department, Cannon Beach, and Warrenton, why would they want our community voting on their fire stuff? I certainly would not, and it scares me. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, if we have to build repair what we have, then that's what we have to do. I'm really afraid of what's going to happen. And these are volunteers that are working over there. You know, police are also involved in this. They're a community thing too. But these are volunteers we're talking about. It's like, you guys are our volunteers up there. You know, we have to treat them good, otherwise we lose them. They'll find better places to go to. They'll go to Seaside. You know, we have a great crew, but how much crap are they willing to take? You know, we gotta figure it out. I don't know what, but we gotta figure it out. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next up is Jack Zimmerman. Please state your name and your address.
Zimmerman, PO Box 2480, Gerhardt. This has been a long night for you, so I'll try to make this quick. A testimonial was sent to you, lengthy and in depth. And we've done so because of commentary and an outcry from social media with regards to that survey. So instead of reading that testimonial, I'll just give you a summary statement. The testimony contends that the city administrator misrepresented the public safety survey results by falsely claiming public frustration with social media misinformation. When no such theme appears in the written comments, instead, the overwhelming and consistent message is a deep lack of trust in the survey, the process, and city leadership. With residents citing bias, factual errors, fear of retaliation. Fear of retaliation, that was quite a few comments. And a disregard for voter input. A lot of the people that responded are fearful that you folks will never address the survey results. Many respondents explicitly opposed moving forward under the current leadership, making the survey a clear vote of no confidence rather than a mandate, and underscoring the need to rebuild trust through transparency, accountability, and honest leadership. That being said, you know, I have to remind you folks, this was your survey. You insisted on it. You built the questions and you got answers. And the voters, there were 700 people that responded. There were 494 wrote very cogent, in-depth, clear responses. They deserve a response from you folks as to what they said. Maybe not on an individual basis, but at least on a summary basis of what you folks think with regards to the outcome. The responses, as I said, were very clear, they were cogent, well thought through and well written, and they were very critical. And I'd like to remind you once again, I've stood up here before and I've tried to make the case that this town is made up of some very competent, knowledgeable, successful people with deep life experiences who have been around the track probably more than any one of you. They don't need more education. A lot of people, when you talk about education, sort of feel like you're propaganda. They don't need that. What they need is an honest, and balanced process. You are totally responsible for where you are in that public safety building. It's not social media. You made the decisions. And it's not about false narratives about social media. In the responses, there was only one mention of social media out of 494. One. And it encouraged you as counselors to go forward against any kind of critical comments from social media. There was one. I think it's fair to say as you go forward, there's a lot of credibility that's been lost. And I think a lot of trust. And I would encourage you to probably quit looking at social media as a demon and embrace social media, because there are a lot of smart people on social media.
20 seconds, Jeff.
20.
Okay.
Paulina, when you left in 2022, you left the departure letter that basically suggested the city bring together a bunch of people on both sides of the equation. I thought that was a good suggestion, and I'm sorry that never happened. I think it should happen now.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We're moving to ordinance and resolutions. Ordinance 951, an ordinance amending name sections of ordinance 930, known as the contractor work hour ordinance. All right. So we've got this in the back, we have the red line unit. Chad, you want to go over these?
Sure. So what we have here is, I'll read the synopsis real quickly. Councilor Gould provided council with amendment suggestions to the current contractor work ordinance following the July State Council meeting. With additional discussion, we held a July work session. Councilor Cochran subsequently requested a red line version, which is attached, of the existing ordinance, number 930. Reflecting those suggestions, that red line version of 930 and the draft ordinance 951 are included in council consideration. Also, following council direction, staff obtained legal review and proposed amendments. After legal counsel reviewed draft 951 in September, council advised during the meeting the item be tabled. Interim attorney Jacobs felt that the ordinance is overly broad and drafted and unintentionally regulates some activities not meant to be restricted. His team is available to provide a comprehensive revision to the council to consider at a later date, repealing previous ordinances. Until then, council can review, discuss, and vote tonight on these amendments previously proposed back in September. So we've got the options to move to approve the attached draft ordinance 951, reading once by title only, make changes, motion to approve as amended, or take another action. Attached down there is the recommended motion, legal analysis, and financial analysis as well, which I'm not going to read. Chad Jacobs is also on hand to answer any questions that we might have. So the next page, you have ordinance 951 as written. And the pages after that are ordinance 930 with the red line, and red text crossed in, crossed out, to kind of clarify where we were headed.
Any questions? Any motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we repeal ordinance let me get my number right. 930, known as contractor work hour ordinance. And instead consider a review of the existing noise ordinance in our municipal code.
I would second that, or just to be clear, you're talking about repealing 930 and enforcing it through the noise ordinance. Yes, I'm on board.
So is that a second?
That is a second, that's a third, that's a fourth, that's a fifth.
On a sixth.
So. Come on. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would love to hear from, not to put him on spot, but I'd like to hear from you about what it's gonna be like to enforce the red line. I don't know if you've even seen the red line version.
I have not, but I get the gist of it. I do feel like the Sunday ordinance for contractors limits a lot of opportunity for our workforce to be productive, be able to get paid, frankly, for their services. I think that it would be a lot easier actually to enforce a noise situation versus the situation we've dealt with before when you came to me where it's, well, he's a contractor, but he's my buddy right now. And he's doing this job. And there's a lot of ways to get out of that. Whereas noise with a decibel meter, you're gonna be able to figure out whether it's loud or not. So I do feel like it's a good opportunity to kind of clean up some things that we haven't really been able to enforce, or has been extremely difficult to enforce.
Okay, so I have a scenario for you, just to be the devil's advocate. So, a neighbor calls up dispatch and says, blah, blah, they're using power tools next door. And, you finally get out there, whenever time frame you can get out there, and they're done using the power tools. And they may have even, put them away and they might be doing something else. So they've disrupted the peace. But by the time you get there, you can't enforce anything because they're not using the power tool.
So honestly, in a situation like that, it's an officer discretion type situation where I would want to contact the people that were supposedly using those tools and maybe just use that opportunity to say, hey, in the future, just so you know, these tools were considered loud. And that if we were able to come here another day and you were using those tools and we were able to find it, this is your warning type situation next time, issue a citation.
Any other questions, scenarios?
I'm not clear about Paulina's proposal, so let me just state this back. So you want to completely do away with the no contractor work on Sunday? Correct. So be clear about that.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, how do you know that, in this scenario, how do you know that it wasn't the homeowner that was using the power tool?
Well, usually contractors have vehicles out front that don't live there. And some of them even have names on those vehicles.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're being paid to do the job at that time. Like he said, how is he going to prove that they're actually being paid to do the job and they're not just volunteering as a friend and I've got my tools, so.
Right, that's a problem.
Yeah, there's an enforcement.
Unless you can come up with a signed contract. The guy isn't contracting.
Well, no, I disagree with you there.
Yes, believe me, I've been to Cannon Beach. They tried to get me on this 3 or 4 times.
Oh, so if you're working and you don't have a contract, that's how you get away with not working?
Unless you come out as the property owner or a neighbor or whatever it is, or the police or whatever it is with a signed contract stating that this guy here is contracting. Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Chief, you got something to say?
Is this gonna be something that you're considering that would make a Sunday still different than a regular work week? Because we would already fall into the noise ordinance issue anyway.
Right, and that's all that's being proposed right now, so.
Right.
It's just gonna drop on to the noise ordinance. All right,
So before we move on, just so I'm clear, I would not want to completely repeal it and have it take away all of the normal hour requirements that existed prior to the change that was in effect a couple years ago. So what we're saying is take it back to where it was.
No, that isn't what the
No,
motion was. The motion was do away with it and go to the noise ordinance for noise abatement.
You'd have to look at the noise ordinance. I think there are times in
I
there.
think it is like 8 in the morning to 6 at
For
night or
decibel.
something like that.
Okay.
To look.
And I can say we can come back and revisit 951 or 930 if we need to. But if that motion is still standing, then I'll call for the vote because I'm moving this along.
I just have one other thing to say. I did ask Chief Gregory if he would take a look at the noise ordinance with me. And we can sort out some of the specifics that we may want to potentially change. So like, if there's something missing there.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
4-1. Moving on.
liquor license.
Liquor license is what it is. This one, Chad,
Thank you.
it's, I've got Josh,
Right, so,
Joshua, excuse me.
yes, Joshua Money, the prep kitchen is submitting the attached new liquor license application to obtain licensing approval for a full-time permit. City administrator makes a recommendation to the council of reason. Council must make the final decision to approve and formally grant local government recommendation to OLCC. The prep kitchen is pursuing this avenue rather than to continually submit special event applications.
Sorry, did you say a full-time liquor license?
That's what this is, yes.
Mhm.
So your options, motion to approve the prep kitchen's liquor license application with a favorable recommendation. Number 2 is the motion to approve the prep kitchen's liquor license application with restrictions. Number 3 is to deny with an unfavorable recommendation citing reasons. Or 4, take other action designed by council. City administrator recommends city council approve the prep kitchen liquor license application with a simple motion. Prep kitchen is in the C2 zone. There are other businesses similar to this within that zone. There are not restrictions on alcohol consumption as there is in the C1 zone, in the C2 zone. C2 is more permissive, more made for these types of businesses. You've got your legal analysis here. Financial analysis is really nothing to report. And then you have the liquor license application. And you also have Joshua here tonight with us if you have any questions.
Does this include hard liquor?
Yeah, just like Trio Local or Trio. So, yeah.
Yes.
The business next door. I offer a motion to approve Prep Kitchen's liquor license application with a favorable recommendation.
I second.
Any discussion?
I guess the only, it's a comment, really not a question. I've been to your establishment a few times and it is kind of a grab and go establishment. And so it does give me pause to see a grab and go selling liquor.
So the intention here is not, we're not trying to turn it into a bar by any stretch of any imagination at all. Our intention here is we want to start doing kind of, a couple times a month, a Saturday brunch or a Saturday dinner, that kind of thing. We want to sell, nice cocktails at that, I think. Bloody Marys or Irish coffees for breakfast, for brunch, or, martinis, Manhattans, that kind of thing. For the dinners, we certainly don't intend to do any sort of full-time liquor sales, daytime or anything like that. We'd probably sell, a bottle of beer or wine to go, that kind of situation.
Sealed containers to go.
Yeah.
So the laws still apply
Yeah.
then you will buy.
But that's not on the.
This is full on premise sales. It doesn't say anything about a package store.
It doesn't say retail off premises sale.
Oh, did I miss that? No, that's certainly not, an absolute necessity that we do that either. So we do keep it on premise and not, again, the intention here is strictly for brunch and dinners on the weekends. But
I appreciate that clarification.
Okay, well,
Do I need to change my motion?
no, it's, if that's what you're gonna do, then that means you're not gonna be selling off premise. Okay. So we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
Aye. All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right,
fair enough. Next time you go.
next on the
Good luck to you.
agenda is audit compliance. Chad, read the synopsis for us, please.
Be happy to. Do you mind? Just
Or do you want Justine? I mean,
I think he needs to brag on her.
she knows. As mentioned in the community's report, an area of improvement noted was the city's organizational structure. This is a common finding in smaller organizations where employees have many roles and there are limited financial resources. A response to state regarding this type of finding is required. With guidance from Acuity and council acknowledgement, the city will submit the required response to the Oregon Secretary of State Audits Division. The recommendation by consensus, City Council acknowledges the report audit deficiency of organizational structure and approves internal controls to assist in providing reasonable assurances of compliance, transparency, and prevention of fraud. The next page is a letter that has been written that will be signed by the Mayor Eric Smith, Treasurer Justine, and City Administrator Chad. That has our response to that organizational structure mentioned in the audit. And then thus, that completes our audit for this year and gives the state of Oregon everything that we need in regards to that acknowledgement. And yes, Justine is absolutely fantastic at this. She works very hard to keep us straight. And I'm very impressed with you. That's better. So we just need a consensus.
oh, by consensus, just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I said, yeah.
We go through this every year.
Yeah.
This letter,
Basically, it's the same, this is the one thing that they get us on, is the fact that
We're
we're
small
multiple
city.
jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
There's other organizations that are larger than us that get that same type of thing, because the type of accounting system that they're looking to work is very difficult.
As long as the master of money is.
Mastering our money.
Going your phrase, right?
yes. Master of money is right. All right, council concern. Sharon, do you have any?
Nope.
Paulina?
I'm concerned about the upcoming budget cycle and our sources of revenue. And how are we going to cope with that? Are we gonna put a group together to talk about that? Brainstorm? Maybe. That's all.
Okay. All right, so,
Are you on me?
I am,
Oh,
I
okay.
am just looking at you because,
I thought you were,
no, I was having a mental pause there, I'm going, we need to have that committed.
Yes.
I agree.
It would seem, well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for the message that you put out in the beginning of the year. Your mayor's message that you put out. And then I would like to say to you that I think great minds are well, I don't know, great minds and sort of mediocre minds are working insightful today because it's been a very good night for me. And I want to thank you because I also shared your concerns, especially when she's talking about PERS going up by 4%. And yet we all know how limited we are as far as how much more money we're going to be able to increase. And it's what, 3%? So we are vastly outpacing ourselves. And it's something we need to get on because it's going to take some work to get there. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing I would like to share based on some comments that were made tonight is, give me a minute. Please bear with me. But I went through a lot of, it may not seem like it, but I actually did go through a lot of leadership development classes in my career. And in several of those classes, they did a study of the movie Band of Brothers. And they talked about different leadership styles that you could see displayed in that movie. And one of the leadership styles, there's a gentleman named, I think it was Captain Sobel, and he was played by the guy you might better known as Ross from Friends. And one of the things he did was he got bogged down on little details, like whether you had a string hanging off of your uniform or whether your name tag was right, or if you said something just right or saluted just right. And the reason that he did that is because he was not a very competent leader and he wasn't very competent in the job that he had to do. And the way that he covered that up was by getting bogged down in the minutia and making it a big deal when it did not need to be made a big deal. And I would like to thank all of you all for, even though some people in this city would like us to get bogged down in minutia and what was said and what wasn't said when it's really not important, I'd like to say thank you to you all for staying on task and seeing the big picture that we're all here playing chess instead of checkers. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that the city of Gerhart really needs to look at what our finances and try and increase our intake. Okay. I read through the planning report. There's a family that I grew up with who has a house next door to the one that I grew up in. And it just seemed to me that it's a short-term rental. He had turned his management over to a professional rental management who didn't pay the taxes until the very last minute to the city. And by the time they paid the taxes, his short-term rental license had expired. And it came up for somebody to try and figure it out, and they turned it down. If we're going to survive, I was totally opposed to the short-term rentals growing up in this town. Everybody that had a house here rented them out to friends and family and relatives and stuff like that. The city never ever had any inkling of who was staying in the house. And this went on for 50 years. Then we had the short-term rental deal, and it got out of hand. And there were developers coming in here and buying up property that used to be rented by school teachers in the wintertime. And now they were being rented by other people for profit. We need to figure out, and so what they did was that they sunsetted the short-term rentals every time you sold the house or whatever after they were. So now we're down to how many, Chad?
I'm gonna guess, but I think about 65.
Okay. That's a viable income source for the city, as well as the permit fees and everything else. Okay, so I think maybe in the future, what we should do is we should re-examine where we are with short-term rentals.
Well, I think we have to have everything on the table when we do get around to discussing it.
Yeah. But I mean, unless you guys can come up with a, you know, with a magical formula for more income coming into cities. Okay. This is one avenue that we can move out.
I would just say to that, short-term rentals were designed in the city by zoning to be in the R3 zone. So when they're not in the R3 zone, we have a problem.
Well, change the rules.
Well, then, this was an issue that was voted by the people. And they are the ones who overwhelmingly said, we want to stop this
Okay,
encroachment in residential zones.
okay.
Can I
Then-
just caution
Okay, just a
everybody,
minute.
this isn't on the agenda, so let's be careful.
Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start doing levies. In order to keep the city afloat.
That could very well be the next thing that we talk about when it comes to money. All right. Do you have any more concern?
Go ahead, rebuttal.
No, I was just saying your point is noted, but we can't discuss solutions because it's not on the agenda.
Right, okay.
That's my impression.
Yeah. But we can discuss his point of view. Anyway, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll give you a motion to adjourn.
I'll take a second.
I'll say.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.